Grave Reviews, this is Chris.
Have you trapped the children?
There's no children here. It's not safe for them.
This is Alan, and Chris is right. Grave Reviews is intended for mature audiences. Your discretion is advised. Grave Reviews presents Thursday Night Frights.
Tuning into Grave Reviews Thursday Night Frights. The podcast of pain is here tonight. Good to see you, sir. Um, Chris, how is your week, my friend?
It's a week, and it doesn't end, and it's been great all week with rain. So perfect spooky weather.
Yeah, I could see. I could definitely see that. I hate to ask you, but I'm really hoping. Can you turn your mic up on your side a little bit?
And
There you go. Perfect. Hopefully that'll everybody will let us know whether or not that works out. But it sounds great on my side.
cool.
I agree with you. It has been a work week, but I finally have a little bit of what do you call it light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't think it's another train coming down the tracks. I think I might actually be starting to
That's
see.
the key right there.
Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it. And tonight we have to thank one of our Talking Dead, Mr. Darren, has suggested to us this movie multiple times over the last several months, and we've finally gotten down to watching the last voyage of the Demeter. Before we break this one down, Chris, is there anything you'd like to say, kind of high level, on how you felt about the last voyage of the Demeter?
Quick review of this. This was a neat little take based on a short little newspaper clipping within the book of Bram Stoker's Dracula, um, of the fated doomed voyage of the Demeter, and basically how Dracula um, showed up at Carfax Abbey in just north of London. I love the take on this.
Yep.
I thought it was dark, uh, the isolationism, the claustrophobia, um, that's just a doom of being alone out in the middle of the water. And this creature that starts off like a naked little man and turns into a winged freaking beast.
Yeah, that's
We
awesome.
get more creature out of our vampire on this one. I
Yep.
Good movie, fun movie. As far as creep factor, mixed reviews, but either love it or you hate it, is what it seems to kind of show up as. And I don't hate it.
I don't either, and I will be honest with you. I really loved this movie up till the ending. I was a little disappointed by the ending, but we'll get there, and I'll explain why. Uh,
Right.
but I'm with you. I love the way that they portrayed Dracula almost as a failed drug victim, right?
Mm,
Like he's an addict
right.
uh, who hasn't gotten his fix, and then as he grows stronger and becomes more virile, I really like the way they did that. I agree with you. I'm a fan of this movie. I actually watched this movie a couple of times before we decided to actually break it down and review it, and got to
Same.
watch it a couple of times this week as well. And I'm 4 viewings in, and I would watch it again. I really like it. So let's take a moment, real Chris.
Say
Easy
that again.
say. Let's. That's how you know we're live, right? Um, let's try that one more time. Let's take a minute and just say hi to the Talking Dead. It looks like we have somebody named Dragon Buddy. I'm not sure who that is, but he's been around a long time, and he's
He's in
somewhat.
there.
He's
Boo.
I
Bad.
love his icon tonight, though. And then we've got Podcast of Pain, who I need you to reach out to me, Mr. Darius, because you have won prizes from us that we have not gotten to you yet. So please send me an email or reach out to me through X or what have you, so I can.
Shoot me a message. We'll get your address. Getting stuff together. It's been a busy week, past few weeks.
Yes.
getting ready for some family stuff. So hopefully after this, we can get some stuff mailed out to
Get some
one of
stuff
our
mailed out to
viewers.
you. Yes, sir. And then we have Miss Maureen McGraw Cambrell in the house. She's my much
She's
much
nice.
better half. Well, wait a minute. Who's Dub?
Dub is new.
Dub is new. I think I know who Dub is.
Oh,
I believe he might be my one of my newer employees. Super nice guy. And you know what, Dub? Simply by being here, you are now a member of the Talking Dead. So we would like to take a moment and thank you for joining us tonight on the show. And we do that very simply by saying you are one of us.
Gabba gabba, we accept you, one of us. Gabba gabba, we accept you, one of us.
So that being said, you don't need to pay any dues. You don't need to say anything other than hello. And by doing so, you are now a member of the Talking Dead. Welcome to the
welcome.
club, sir.
Welcome, sir.
As I said earlier, Mr. Darren, who is actually responsible for the review we're doing tonight, and you, Balto, we love you and we appreciate you being here. Now, that all being said, all right. If you happen to be watching at one time on X or another platform, please feel free to jump over to YouTube so that you can join the chat and actually be a part of the Talking Dead and let us know what you thought of the last voyage. Let's break this one down, Chris. How do we start on the last voyage?
How do
How do we start?
It's
It's
of
of
course
course
out there
out there
picking
picking
the
the
main
main
guys
guys
for
were
a ship
ship
headed to
headed to
London.
London.
Sounds like
Sounds
some
like
quick,
quick,
easy
easy
money,
money,
bonuses
bonuses
all
all
around.
around.
It doesn't work
Doesn't
out
work
well
out
in the
well in the
beginning.
beginning.
Stuff
Stuff
crashing and
crashing and banging.
I
like
love the fact that this one started literally at the end, right? And you see the constables running up and they're like, "Hey, we've got a ship that's trying to make it past the breakers during the storm and blah 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 blah." And then you see the ship wreck and the one officer who's sitting there's like, "There's no one left." I went on board. There's no one left. And then they open the captain's log and start reading the captain's log, and that's where we basically um, jump back to the beginning, where, as you said, they're now trying to collect sailors to help them load the cargo, and they're short men for the trip. When we meet our main character, the doctor, if
the
you
Dr. Clement. Mr. Clemens to be a victim of um, prejudice. They're here with the doctor. They can't find work with the doctor.
Yep.
So he's willing to take up the family trade, which his father was a deckhand, and let me on the boat. He's just trying to get out of where he's at um, and get to London, try something new.
I'm being told that your voice is distorted, and
I'm speaking on my end, so crank it back a little bit.
okay, crank it. You bring it down just a hair, and I'll try
Just
to
a hair. How about now?
bring it up. How do you like us now? Um, that being said, um, I think that okay. So if there's anyone in the chat who's actually read the original Dracula, the book, the novel, um, you will know that this is a deviation from the book. The book is told from the captain's log point of view, from the captain's point of view, but they chose for the movie to bring in the doctor carrier character, excuse me, as well as the young lady, and tell the story basically through their eyes, if you will. Uh, but I think it was a good choice. I really do. It allowed us to get to know our crew. And I'm going to tell you right now, Chris told me something right before we went on the air. I just said, "Hey, what did you think of this one character?" And he goes, "Oh, that was." And when he told me, my mind went and flew to the top of my head. And then I looked at the picture and I went, "Oh my God, you're right." So for myself personally, one of the best characters that we have in this movie is actually the first mate, and his name is David, and I can't pronounce it.
David Death Malton.
Desmulchen, who is our lead in um, Late Night with the Devil, and man, that's I don't think I think that this guy could you could hand him the old white pages of the phone book, and he could find a way to act it to make you believe it. This guy is great. I mean,
And it's
he,
funny, you don't recognize him from Late Night with the Devil because I mean, he looks like the tired seaman. He is rough. He is raw. His eyes are drawn. He's a serious guy, and he takes his job very seriously, and to the point where he has the respect of the captain, although he might be a little too harsh in his treatment of the crew.
yeah,
But he runs a tight ship.
but but you also get the fact that the crew really do respect him. As well as Liam Cunningham, who plays Captain Elliot. You really do get the feeling that this crew, um, through their ups and downs and through their highs and lows, that they're a family.
Yeah.
Um, and even uh, um, I mean Joseph, uh, you know, um, the all too um, religious cook who is the first one to betray everybody while still quoting scriptures.
Yeah.
Uh,
And he
but
seems to be the likable guy when you get there that,
yeah,
the strict Christian, like, don't take the Lord's name in vain around here. You won't eat. But he seemed to be the welcoming guy. And in the end, he's like, peace, guys. I'm out.
peace, I'm out. Yeah, I loved it. Your introduction to him. Stay out of my kitchen. You know, we eat at this time, and if I hear you use the Lord's name in vain, you will not eat. I was like, okay, cool. I mean, you really do, for the most part, the stronger characters of this. They let you know right up front who they are and what they're about,
Yep.
and then of course they turn around and you know hit you in the back of the head and try to steal a boat to get away.
Change when you get out on the open water and some crazy stuff starts happening and there's only a handful of you there.
Yep.
So obviously everyone would be suspicious of another guy, especially if you're the new stranger in town and just
Yes.
happen to show up on a boat because you saved the captain's grandson
Yes.
and took the place of the old
Gypsy.
Romani Gypsum that saw the dragon and went, "Oh no 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 no! In fact, here's all of our money, including all of the money that you were paid, that you paid us, and then some more. We're not going with you. Good luck."
They went. They went. Screw you guys. I'm going home. Very. Oh, they're like, I'm out. Uh,
Yep.
I I think the only thing in that scene that would have been any better would have been when they were riding their carriages, right? And you see the Demeter leaving port, and it's about halfway through the bay.
Mhm.
I thought it would have been a good time for that whole crowd to like cheer and whatever,
Right. Yeah.
because the evil that they've been living with for, really they talk like it's centuries,
Right.
for decades at least, minimally.
Hmm.
Now leaving, you would have thought they would have been much more excited than they were. But that to me, I mean, that's a little thing. That was just a
Right.
choice of direction. But yeah, I agree. Okay, so everyone who's in the chat room knows that my wife does not like horror films, and she has asked me more than once, "Am I going to be able to watch this? Is this one funny or is this one scary?" And I told her, I said, the thing is that this is okay. I'm back up just a hair. I think that sometimes vampire movies are done incorrectly from a point of view that they are addressing the vampire as as a man who is hiding his
Devil in
monster.
the hide, if you would. And
Right. He's hiding his monster, when in reality it's the monster that's trying to hide in the man, right? It's two really is, if you think about it, it's two different things.
yeah, and the movie does that point there where he wears a man's skin.
Right. Exactly. He once he's at full power, he can use illusion to make you think that he's a man and not a monster. And I like the way they did that. But I told her when we were about talking about it, I said, "Here's the thing with this could have been any creature
Yeah.
that was on the boat. It didn't have to be necessarily be Dracula. The way the story was told, it could have been any creature. And this story is really more about how a group of people, men and the one woman, start to learn how to deal with something that is well beyond their understanding. And I mean, literally, there are members of this cast that through the movie they start to lose their mind,
Oh
and
yeah.
you're watching it, and you're really drawn into the characters of this. Dracula is just a really, really big scoop of beautiful, wonderful icing on a wonderful cake of this movie.
Right. You don't
It's
have to see much of him. He creeps you right out. I mean, when we first get glimpses of him, he is a naked little old dude running around, and that alone is creepy on a boat.
he's
But
he's more Gollum than he is vampire at the
right,
when you first.
absolutely, absolutely, he's sneaking around. We find that one of the boxes has fallen, and some dirt and a woman basically falls out.
Yeah.
Plot device, yes,
Yes.
but I love the way they took it to where she was like, he has to nurse her back, works her back to health with blood transfusions because obviously she's been hanging out with Dracula. She's running a little low, and when she comes back, she's basically gives them the story that, in a nutshell, her relatives and her town and community have made a deal with this devil, and she was part of that deal. They
Yeah.
feed him the blood banks, and he leaves the town alone as far as at least somewhat,
And
to
and
some extent.
and the fact that they willingly sent her along with him so
Yeah,
that so that she could sustain him at least until at such a point that he decides to, you know, I think they even made a point that they said, once the doctor kind of discovered, came to the conclusion that, he was using her to sustain himself until they got far enough out that they couldn't go to port, and then he
right.
could start to
Yeah,
feed
then he doesn't need anybody anymore.
his strength. Um, there are 2 plot, issues in this movie. We'll get to those in just a little bit, but the main one, about the way they try to get rid of, Dracula at the end, I think is a huge issue. Um, but it worked in the confines of the movie.
Mhm.
Uh, what did you think about, 'cause Dracula was played this really smart, okay, because he was a feral animal,
Yeah.
but they made a point of going, "Hey, wait a minute. No, he's a cunning, intelligent feral animal." Uh,
Right.
what did you think about the plot, device of killing off the food, killing
Uh,
off the animals?
Right. It was interesting. I kind of took it as, obviously his snack has left his box for a short period of time. So he's looking for a juicy box, and finds the entire hold full of the livestock. I kind of think because he is in that creature mode, because we see a real progression of him through the
Yes.
movie. And in the beginning, he's Gollum, creeping around in the dark, kind of cornering, takes on the poor dog and all the animals in the hold. And I think that's where you get that animalistic side of Dracula. Like, he is the monster at that point. So that's
Mhm.
how I kind of took it. It was it's interesting how it progressed from there, because once the girl comes out and she starts freaking out about evil, this movie takes a dark turn.
It Oh god, it does.
I mean, they, "Oh, you don't kill the kids, you know."
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Well, no, he's going.
apparently you do.
He's going. Oh, and wait, there's more. you know.
Oh, I love the fact that they also allow that hurt. But they also allowed, Dracula to speak while he was in this, feral form. And, what he did with the shipman Larson, and I'm looking here real quick, who was played by, Martine, uh, Ferland,
Yes,
Martin Ferland. I tell you what,
for Ruland.
Veruland, the scene where he is trying to going directly to what you were saying, that the scene where he's trying to get to Toby
Mhm.
and he uses his own face as a battering ram. Oh, it was rough. Oh, it
Yeah.
was so rough.
I mean, the poor kid locks himself in. They made it a point. They've searched the ship already for something because obviously something took another member of the crew
Yep.
and left this guy maimed. He was tied up. They couldn't wake him up. He was like in a fever dream, and he wakes up, eyes all milked over. Never a good sign in any movie.
No,
Any situation. You see your friend come over with his eyes milked over. Keep a little distance. And yeah, he is under the control of Dracula and on his way to basically get to the kid. And he's coming through this locked door by smashing.
yeah, and these aren't small.
Oh,
These aren't small doors. These are big, thick, heavy.
it's the captain's quarters, so you know it's the best door in the whole ship.
And he just runs his head through it just by it. And it was hard to watch. But it was also because of the way that they communicate on the ship, right? So if I'm on deck and Chris is down in his bunks and I need help, I knock on the handrail and that knocking comes through the ship and they're attuned to listen for that.
Right.
So Toby starts banging on one of the posts, and while they're up on the deck and they're all freaking out in the storm, and someone the chef's like, "Do you hear that?"
Right.
You- Right? And they're like, "Oh my god, it's Toby." Well, what Toby doesn't know is he's locked himself in with Dracula.
Yeah. Because they all show up to try to get to him. They get the crewmate away that is not looking good. He's got a little something on his face.
He's got a little something
Uh,
something right there.
Might be missing a little something on his face. But yeah, and they notice the curled up features of the creature in the corner. So now they're trying to get in the door, and this thing goes and attacks poor Toby and drinks his blood. By the time they get into him, he's gone, and poor Toby is hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, and by this point, there's been a couple of other crew members sacrificed that have died, but but the thing that I thought was impressive about this particular scene is that Dracula did not try to hide himself at this point. He's like, I've already killed a couple. I'm
Yeah.
back to strength, and I am going to take this child's life in front of you because there's nothing you can do. Without saying it, that was what was being relayed. And you're and as a viewer who is now completely bought into these people that you're watching, you may not be bought into Dracula, but you're sitting there going, "Oh shit,
Not the
this
kid.
is tough."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
A complete vamp you. And poor Toby is the recipient of it. And they finally were able to break in after Anna grabs the gun and blows the lock off the door. Obviously, too late.
right.
They know that there is a creature on board now. To which case, we've got Joseph, the cook, who is now in ultra form, where this is the devil. He's here to take us because you're a sinner, and you're a sinner, and you're a sinner, and you're a sinner, and I'm not, and I need to get out of here.
Yeah. Again, very just anyway, commentary on some things that's going on there. Very well done. Again, very well done. Then the next scene, they have uh, our Dracula's familiar, right? The
Mhm.
the the crew member tied to one of the masts,
Yeah. And they're
and
questioning him, and he's there
yep.
and answering their questions a little bit.
And I love the fact that he's kind of at first he's kind of comatose, and he pulls his head up and he says, "I hear everything. I hear the ocean. I hear the wind blow.
Yeah.
I hear your blood coursing through your veins." I was like, "Wow!" Very. I mean, just it was very creepy, but it wasn't like over dramatic. It was just right there. But then all of a sudden, it starts going. It burns.
Yeah. And we know as a viewer they're completely stumped.
Yeah,
Sun is coming up,
and
and it's creeping towards him, and he wasn't wearing SPF 5000.
no, no, and I love the fact that our doctor goes, "Well, oh, we'll get you some water. Someone get him some water." And he's like,
Some
"It
water, yeah.
hurts.
It's
It
fine. Oh, he's just a little hot. It's a fever. Oh, what a fever dream.
Yeah,
Uh,
his fever was real hot. I mean, it went up. He went up in flames. Oh,
yeah.
just
And this is all coming to, like, you've heard the story of being basically under the control of Dracula from Anna, who has said that, once he has your blood, he's in you. Like, he's in your blood, he's in your head, and obviously he's turning these people because that guy goes up. The other two, I mean, up till now, these murders happen very quick, very gruesome. There's no coming back from what happens to these poor guys.
I think the way I took it, and you can correct me if you have a different point of view. I think it was if Dracula allows you to live after feeding on you, you become his servant.
Yeah,
Uh, if he doesn't and he kills you, then you're just dead.
right.
That's the way I saw
And
it.
we've seen both of them where we've seen, the guys that didn't come back, and then this guy did. And each of the cases, they were left just barely alive. So yeah, it seems like a familiar kind of ghoulish creature. Also, with a vitamin D deficiency from
Yeah,
staying in the sun.
a severe vitamin D. And Toby is now in the captain's chambers, getting blood transfusions. They're trying to keep Toby alive,
Yeah,
um, and not with a lot of success because everyone but the captain at this point in time is like he's already gone, right?
yeah.
He's
And this is where they start talking, and they're like, "Well, you know what? If we get this thing and we kill this thing,
yep,
maybe it'll release its hold on Toby. Maybe that'll help." And
right.
that's when they realize, like, oh, this thing, we're only like a day away from London.
Yes,
This thing's looking to get to London. Like,
yeah,
we can't let this thing get to London, so we need to stop it. And they come up with the best plan. And as we know, when fighting, especially the Godfather of all Godfathers,
right.
Dracula, e- best laid plans.
Yes. Well, here's where I say we had a huge plot hole. So let's you know what? Well, let me hold that for 1 second.
Okay.
So they they finally basically allow Toby to cross over,
Yeah.
much to the chagrin of the captain, who's his grandfather,
Right.
and they're having a deckside funeral. And no one can come up with the words to say because everyone loves Toby on
This
the
is
show.
tragic. This is sad.
And our maiden, Anna, who was played by, and I'm gonna totally
Ashling.
Ashling, she did a fantastic job, but that little prayer that she did, I was actually sitting there watching going, "Man, that's touching,"
Yeah.
may he never hunger, may he never, feel
But
cold.
as she's going with this, you see the captain catch a little glimpse of, was it the wind flopping the sheet over his face? Was it
Yeah,
a twitch? And you can see it in his eyes, and they're ready, to cast the body to sea. Captain's like, no, 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 and they're all like, oh man, this is not good. This is
he's alive, I saw him move.
I saw him move. It's impossible. He's not breathing. He
Yeah, he's
rips open the bag, and you're like, dude, that's not looking good.
you get your Salem's Lot moment.
Mm,
He's looking at the kid, and all of a sudden the kid's eyes go and pop open, and they're the milk eyes, right? And of course, he's in the sunlight, so he bursts into flames. But before he does, he reaches up and grabs the grandfather. Oh,
yes.
this is such a heart wrenching scene.
Yeah, his grandfather's holding him. He's holding the grandfather, engulfed in flames. Uh, you kick the captain off to the side, who's still crisping up a little bit,
Yeah,
and they dump it. And not only do now we've seen this Toby get it, we've seen Toby be um, given his last rites to be released to sea. Then we see him come back alive, catch on fire, and we see his ashen form going into the deep after they dump him overboard. And
yes.
it was like, wow, that was
It was a rough
this is
ride.
dark.
It was a rough ride.
Ugh.
because you're not used. You okay? So speaking of Salem's Lot, we saw a vampire, but it wasn't this graphic. It was super, just like
Yeah.
it happened off screen. In Interview with the Vampire, we see a young Kirsten Dunst again. Not that this was a very graphic, but yet it was done in such a way that it instead of grossing you out, it pulled at your heartstrings. It was
There's passion in it, and I think at this point is when I kind of realized like this is its connection to our Universal monsters from the 30s and such, the Hammer films, the old school horror films that gave you the Mummy and the Werewolf
Yep.
and this is where it was because you had that elegance and darkness.
Yep.
So
I, I
I
agree.
was a fan of this movie coming into it, and when it hit this point, we're running
Uh-huh.
because now it's the race to the end. They only got a day. They can do all they can. We're gonna batten down the hatches and we're gonna knock this all. And we're gonna only one way out, just like Andor. And uh, they they put everything together. And
Only unlike Andor, this was a good movie. Anyway,
oh, little Disney hate, but yeah, they got it all set. He's gonna come up there. He's gonna go after her because she's the bait. We're gonna be up in the air. We can rain down fiery hell from him. We're all good, right? And then Dracula shows up, and they're like, "Shit, he can fly."
and he calls the fog in, which I thought that would look off.
Yeah,
But here's my beef. Maybe this is because I've seen enough vampire movies, but this is my plot hole that my one of two, and this was the first one. You've just seen two people that he has turned combust into flames in the sunlight.
right.
Why didn't you start sinking the boat in the sunlight?
Hey, he's in a box of dirt, dude. That's gonna go down pretty quick. You're gonna force him up to the surface and either burn, or we'll see if vampires can breathe underwater.
And on top of all that, part of your uh um part of your crew, not I'm sorry, part of your storage, they told you early on there was 2 barrels of petroleum. Why didn't they
We're gonna
bust
sink the
them
boat
o-
anyway.
bust them open, light that puppy on fire, get on and go out to sea in the middle of the day? That's my
I
only.
think we lean Yeah, I think we lean heavily on the part that, what's the worst thing that a captain or someone on a boat could see, and that would be fire, because there's not much good can happen from
No,
fire on the
you're
ocean.
surrounded by water, and what you're riding on is on fire. That's
Yeah,
not a.
not good. No.
But
I love how this plan kind of goes down because the captain's out of it. The captain is just like lost everything.
yep,
His grandson was everything we had known. He had said he's going to retire and he doesn't want Toby in this life. And he was going to retire and let the kid go to school
yep.
and have a life. And it's all been ripped apart for him. And he's lost. So these guys are taking it on their own. Joseph takes one of the dinghies and he's like, I'm out.
I'm
Um,
out.
and that's kind of how you find out that Dracula went after him first.
Yeah, and you hear.
'Cause-
Oh, I love the sound of his wings.
Mm,
That struck me the first time I saw it. I was like, when this was so okay. So much of this was practical, but what they used for digital, the only one that really threw me off was when Toby was under the was sinking. But other
yeah,
than that, but when they showed him in that boat, first time that Dracula can fly, and you hear the wings flapping, and he looked up, and you actually saw the fog swirl from where
yeah,
the. I was like, "That's so cool!" I
that's
wouldn't
pretty
want
cool.
to be the guy to see it in real life, but it was cool to watch it knowing it wasn't me.
And going through this ending battle with what's left of good and evil,
Yeah.
you really got the shots in this movie really worked. I really like. Uh, it's obviously a dark movie. We're in a boat in the middle of the ocean. It's dark.
Yep.
Okay, but. we've gotten these great little shots of
You
of Dracula. He did have some snot coming down, but yeah, we get these different and this evolution as we're going. And when they're like, "Oh no, he can fly," he's got these wings, and you realize like, "Oh, he's got like a 20-foot wingspan."
Oh,
He is now no longer looking like Gollum. He
uh,
is full forced claws, talons, ready to finish them off because it's just London's right over there. Should be there before dawn.
yep. And he's close enough that if he wanted to, he could have let them destroy or sink the ship, and he could have just flew to London,
Right.
if the fact that he needed his soil. But that's another thing. But no, the shot of uh, and I'm jumping ahead just a little bit. We won't go through the whole thing, but the shot of when the doctor says, "I'm not afraid of you," and
Yeah.
and he spreads those wings out and screams. I was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's so
And
horrifying!"
they're great back and forth. And again, I love the part where it's like, I don't fear you. And he's like, you will.
Okay,
Um,
so right before this, there's a little bit earlier. There was a man up on the mask and mast,
yep.
and Dracula's coming up after him, and he's looking down at him, and and Dracula's like repeating back to him what he's saying.
Yeah.
You can really see the two influences on his design. You can really see Orlok,
Yep.
uh, and also the teeth were Barlow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And if anyone that happens to be listening doesn't know what I'm talking about, if you watch the original Salem's Lot, um, the or no, I'm sorry, the if you watch Salem's Lot, the teeth design is very jagged, and that's what um, uh,
Yeah. It's not. They're not. Pretty little teeth. They're all over the place. They're made for. I mean, he's used them, and as you can see on like Anna's scars, it's not the pretty, couple punctures in your skin. It's an animal chewing on you
yep,
in order to get the blood. So very cool. We go through this ending of, we think we got this one beat.
yep,
I agree with you where what they've put their faith into killing, you know, the evil on all of the land by pinning him between a mast and
I was okay with
okay,
that. 'Cause,
okay, I get it. They pinned him, but you're in the middle of a storm. You're really hoping for the storm to clear up pretty quick.
yeah, I will say that I was okay with that because I thought that was kind of last, desperation, right,
Right,
for them to.
because they tried with the blowing everything up and sinking the ship, and it just they needed to get the hell out of there because he was just no match. They were no match for him.
I agree, and then um, when they're out in the ocean, right, and the only two that are left are Doctor and Anna, and he looks up at her, and her eyes are starting to milk over.
Yeah, well, she opens her eyes, and he's not look like he's over here talking to her, looking the other way, and she opens her eyes, and we kind of see like one of her eyes is all milked over, and you're like, oh
No,
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 oh no.
but you know what? It made sense.
Yeah, absolutely, because the blood transfusions were just keeping her alive, and
Yep,
it was just delaying the inevitable. She belongs to Dracula, which again now you can completely know like she's still under his spell,
yep,
and he's just like, "Oh no, we'll give you more," and she's like, "I was his already,
yep,
like I'm choosing my way out now."
and I love the fact that she said, all we're doing is delaying the inevitable. It's going to happen. Um, uh, People have made my decisions for me my whole life, my village, my elders,
Right.
Dracula. This is my decision. And I was so touched by that. And the fact that she went out in a fiery glory of her
Yeah,
own.
she climbed right up on top of that thing and was like full sun,
Yep.
going. And you get that it's over, but it's not over because there was a survivor
Right.
of the Demeter, and our man Clemens, Mr. Clemens, has made it to London, albeit by floating on a sail and some garbage, and he has now made it where we've merged the captain's log into the account of Mr. Clemens. Um,
Yes.
that's where you kind of see where how do they get this from the captain's log? Well, now you know you're also getting his testimony because he has now made it his life work to to uh, take the evil out of London, and he goes in with a lot of confidence. We find that, of course, as in the book, he has purchased Carfax Abbey, and that's where he set up shop. And wouldn't you know it, we see Count Orlok, a part of Dracula's uh, aliases, and he sees Clemens, and he
Yes.
gives him the smile. He's got the aristocratic clothing on.
But I love the fact that he used his wolf cane to
Yes,
slap on the floor because he knew that he would hear that because of his
it was the knock of
I was like, "Oh, that's a beautiful touch." All right, so here's a couple things that I didn't mention that the cane is gonna bring up.
okay,
Uh, the cane was done on purpose, and the reason the cane was done on purpose was it was a nod to the Bram Stoker's Dracula because in the novel, Dracula could turn into a wolf as well, so that's the reason it had the silver head, wolf head on it. The early on when the animals are killed, they blame the dog and say that it may have rabies, which was quickly dismissed.
right,
But the reason they did that was because I didn't know this little known fact that I was digging into. When Bram Stoker was writing the account of Dracula, he was actually had the effects of what happens to humans when they contract rabies in mind as part of the transformation process.
ooh,
So they were kind of nodding to them during that. So I was like, "Oh, well done, well done."
very cool.
Little no oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Fun fact with great reviews. Anyway, I gotta soundbite that somehow. Anyway, so all right, Chris. So, um, here's my beef.
What you got?
I said I had 2 things that I had beef with.
Okay,
Uh, one was the fact that they should have tried to kill him during the daylight, and they this movie was so well written, and so smartly written that they could have found a way out for Dracula to get out of that. But the I want the this and it was the studio. It wasn't the writer and it wasn't the director. They made them change the ending a little bit to make it so obvious that they wanted um a
sequel.
uh, a sequel that I was literally sitting there going, "Why did you do that? You didn't have to do that."
We
Uh,
got a sequel. It's called Dracula.
Yeah, because that's exactly what it is, right? So that being said, Darren, I'm sorry. I love you. Um, this movie was great,
Yeah,
and I know that you have feelings about the new Nosferatu.
right.
This movie is not that.
I
The
will give it.
Nosferatu is so much better.
It ranks up there with a top vampire movie for me.
Yeah,
I love the setting. I love the actors in it. I'm a big fan of Liam Cunningham.
I am too.
And so he's great in the movies that he was in. I thought this was a really good take on a snippet from the story of Dracula and the story of Bram Stoker's Dracula,
Yep,
and keeping some of the lore in there. I really enjoy this. Again, I see a lot of the critics it was love or hate thing, and I think that's subjective. But I think this hit all the marks.
yep.
Nosferatu, again, Bill Skarsgård is good in all of the horror movies that he's in. I think I kind of felt his. He had said never wants to play a character like that again because it was so evil, and I felt the evil he had put into that character in Nosferatu.
I agree.
So
And
do
the
think it's a little better. However, this is not something.
oh,
I'm the same with Alan. I had seen it twice. I watched it twice again before the review this week.
and if
I
I
can
had
watch it again. That's 4 times in. That's a good show. That's a good movie. Considering the werewolf movie we watched last, we were like, I
no.
made it through, you son of a.
Didn't. I told you that. I want to fuck this movie. I ain't watching it. Anyway,
I did.
oh, so bad.
Yeah.
Now I say all that to say this. I'm not dogging this movie by any means. When I said that, I just think artistically, Nosferatu is better. I loved the characters in this. You know how much I adored Late Night with the Devil. I think you could rip a page of the phone book out and hand it to him, and he could act it, and you'd just be like,
It's
yeah,
true.
yeah, give me them W's, you know, you know, William, call that guy. I mean, that's the way you'd be, but
Get him. You need this guy.
yeah. So, one being a miserable dredge that made you angry that you watched it. That's not this movie. 5 hitting all the marks, and 10 being the nearly perfect film that would compete with John Carpenter's The Thing in our eyes, transcends the genre. Where would you put this movie on a scale
Yeah.
from 1 to 10?
1 to 10. This was good. I love the use of Javier Botet. He's a true monster man. He was Dracula in this. He was Slender Man. He was in Mama. He's got those movements great for being some sort of creature
Yes.
of darkness. So I love that part, and that kind of adds to my rating of it. So I this is fun. This good vampire movie, original take,
Mhm.
um, taking source material for every vampire movie
Yep,
and using a tiny portion of it. I thought was great. I'm going to give this one an 8.5. It's close to a 9 for me
I'm
because
almost.
it's fun, and like I said, I've seen it 4 times since 2023,
Mhm.
and 2 times since just last week, and I'll watch it again. It's an enjoyable movie. It's got great rewatchability.
Yep, I agree. And as Darren says, I love this. He says, top movie he's seen since becoming a member of the Talking Dead. First time he watched this, he restarted to watch immediately thereafter. But he's right. It is no one caged.
Thank God.
Thank God. Right? I agree with everything you said. If it was, if the ending had been handled a little differently, the very end, right in the pub, that whole thing that,
Leave it with him walking off into the
yeah,
sunset. Leave the little speech.
right.
Cut that off.
I think I would have given this a solid 9 at that point. But I'm with you. This is an 8 to 8.5 movie for me. I loved it. I've seen it 4 times. I will watch it again. Uh,
Yes.
and if anyone says to me, "Hey, man, what's a good vampire movie that I can watch?" I'll be like, "Man, there's like many. Here's a list, and this one would be on that list."
Yeah.
So, um, so yeah, so that being said, now comes the really hard part. Where are we going to put this on the shit list?
On
Our
the shit list.
hysterical and intentionally tasteless movie list that means absolutely nothing to anyone but us. It's more. This is more of a, for the most part, it's more of a movie of how enjoyable this is. I'm sorry I haven't seen LG tonight because I'm here to tell you it goes above Sharknado.
Oh yeah, we can definitely start above Sharknado. But he burst into flames. Exactly.
Eggs.
Uh, which
So
is funny because where I start looking is where we have another David Desmarchand movie sitting in there. We're just outside of top 10. We're definitely I'm saying we're definitely in the top 20 movie, maybe just outside of top 20 movie. So
so
let's move to 25 because it's better than Violent Night,
okay.
and see how she looks there. But that's
Uh,
where I would start.
all right. So let's go.
Sadly, it is above the cinematic masterpiece known as Maximum Overdrive. Um,
Yes.
this movie did receive some high praise from Stephen King, as being reminiscent of the old style horror.
I'm going to say let's start looking at the position of 22. Now here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to chat room. Please be patient with me for just a second. I'm going to make a couple real quick changes to the screen, just enough for us to kind of be able to. I'm going to hide you for just a few minutes while we have this where we can see it. Um, I'm thinking. Okay, so we're right now. Um, you know how much Brightburn has a special spot for me.
Brightburn is special to me too.
Uh, I think
Well, actually, we're moved into movies that we feel are some of the top movies out there, that
yes,
we've covered already.
yes.
Obviously, there's plenty more movies out there, and this isn't an end all. But out of 62 movies we viewed, we're getting into the special few here.
Yep. I'm thinking. I'm thinking this goes. Oh, I think you might. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking it goes to. I'm thinking it goes somewhere around 15.
I'm with you, dude. That's why I said it's to be next to have the same actor in two movies back to back on our list. Pretty cool. But honestly, it's right there. I'd put it before or after. I'd say after Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah,
I'm happy with 15 there.
and the only
Definitely a top vampire movie, which for me is hard to get into because I'm very set in what I like.
well,
Nosferatu breaking out like it did was a huge one. This one is right there with it for me.
yeah, I agree. You notice I didn't even ask. I just locked it in, right? I'm with you on that, and I think the only reason that late night is one spot above it is because late night was a to me anyway. It was a pretty original
Oh
concept.
yeah,
So that gives it the edge. I agree with you. I think this 15 on our list. That's pretty high praise from us. I agree.
great.
I
It's
mean,
definitely a top 20 movie, and when you talk about our top 20 movies, those are movies that they're talked about. We're not forgetting as fast as some we'd like to. But you know,
bottom three. If it goes below which, it's pretty damn bad. Just so
yeah. So yeah, I'm happy with our ranking on this one. It might be a shit list, but I think we hit the mark here.
I think so too. And it's funny because generally speaking, lately we've been at about a 35 to 45 minute mark, and we're already pushing 50 minutes on this. And literally, I feel like we didn't even cover everything that we could have covered.
There's a lot of stuff inside the movie, a little things that you can pick up. Definitely go watch it if you haven't seen it already, and you kind of tuning back in because we're past the spoilery stuff. Go see this movie; it is worth it. Darren is correct. High praise from Frankenfurter.
In my mind, Darren, I'm hearing you chanting at us as we're doing this. Get up there,
No
do it,
whammy, no whammy, no whammy.
baby, stop. So next week, another a vampire film for
Yeah.
next week. We're taking another movie from just last year. We're going to be talking about Abigail. Where can we see Abigail? Let me pull that up real quick because I want to be sure
Good
that everybody.
question. It's bounced all over the place when it comes to streaming. I'm not sure where she is right now.
Yeah, she's been she's been jumping around a lot lately.
Watch. It is available to Amazon Video.
Okay, perfect.
Check it out on Prime.
Yeah, Prime. If you have that, Fandango at home for rent. Yeah, such a fun little movie. I think this is gonna be a fun one for us to talk about because this is another one of those really neat concept films. And I think that if you get a chance to watch this for next week, join us in the Talking Dead. I think you'll find that Abigail's a fun one, and it's not perfect. Believe me, there are going to be some things that we bitch about, but join us for that next week. Chris, is there anything you'd like to tell the people before we sign off today?
Well, as we always kind of try to ask you guys, if you could stab that like button, slash the bell, make sure you toll that thing. It'll let you know when we go live on Thursday nights. Every Thursday, we try to get out here with something new. Um, Leave us a comment if you get a chance. We found that YouTube rolls these comments, kind of blasts our stuff out there when you guys interact. So
Yep.
when you're done with this viewing here, if you could just go on there and tell us you guys are. I'm upset that you didn't rank it higher. Um, all valid point. Uh, but if you can, go to bio.link/graverev. I will put the link in the chat here. And that's where you can get links to all of our socials, our Instagram, our TikTok, our Facebook, our merch store. I just picked up a Grave Review shirt. It's being washed, so I didn't wear it. You got some great stuff out there. Also, an email. Reach out to us if you think we should watch a movie. You think we should view a movie to review a movie. Let us know. We've got a schedule of stuff that we throw out there back and forth. We don't mind bumping things. We'll try to get to it eventually. If we can review every movie, that would be cool.
Yeah.
We're at 62 right now, so we got a ways to go.
Yep.
But yeah, reach out to us, let us know, and we'll see you next week. Stay spooky, friends.
Stay spooky. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We love the fact that you're part of the Talking Dead. Just simply by being here, it makes you a member of the Talking Dead. Join us every Thursday night. I'd love it if you would join us on YouTube, just so that we can you can converse with us through the chat channel. Be ordained a member of the Talking Dead, just as Jonathan did earlier tonight. Doesn't cost you anything other than maybe a little click of the button. That's all you got to do. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, until we meet again next Thursday night, we will be talking about Abigail. As we like to say, signing off. Ladies and gentlemen, until we meet again, may all of your nightmares be groovy. Have a great night, everyone.